Hey everyone, welcome to PT's Zenith channel. This is my fifth video, and I've been hearing comments that what is the best way to achieve a reading score of 90, right? I keep getting that from different students. How do we actually get 79 plus or 65 plus in reading? Because that is what I find it really difficult among all the sections, be it listening, speaking, or writing. Reading generally is much difficult than the other sections, right? So in this video, I thought of covering the exact strategies that I followed to get a score of 90 in my reading section. Okay, so we'll begin with understanding what constitutes reading, right? So when people think about reading, they always think it is um, multiple choice questions, reorder paragraphs, fill in the blanks, and that's it, right? So they always tend to concentrate on this whenever they get a lower score. But what they tend to miss out is basically PT is an integrated scoring uh, test, right? So you cannot just go the reading sessions and get a score of 90. So there are other sections which also contribute to reading. So for example, read aloud, as you can see, it constitutes to 27% of your overall score. So just imagine. So even if you get a read aloud completely wrong, right? There is no point aiming for 79 plus, even if you get all of the FIB right, reorder paragraph right, and all the other question types correctly in your reading section. So ensure you get your read alouds correctly, right? So when we say read alouds, it mainly constitutes the content, right? So when you say read aloud and speaking, you have three different categories: content, fluency, and pronunciation. So the fluency and the pronunciation mostly constitutes to the speaking section, and the content majorly plays a role in this reading section score. So you just have to ensure that you pronounce the words correctly so that your content gets captured correctly behind the scenes in the AI algorithm, right? So ensure you don't miss out any words from your read aloud. So that is the most important thing, and the only way you can actually get it right is following the right strategies for read aloud, which I would have explained in my previous video on speaking 90 myths, facts, and tips and strategies, right? So please go over that video in case if you want to know more about read aloud, how to ace it. So that is the most simplest thing that you can actually do. You can easily get this 27% score for reading session through read aloud. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So if you see the next high weightage task here for reading are fill in the blanks reading and writing, fill in the blanks reading, and some weightage for reorder paragraph and highlight incorrect words in listening. Okay, so if you just do the math, if you just get the fill in the blanks reading and writing and also reading and read alouds, you're almost there, right? You're almost there for 79 plus. So ensure you focus lot of time in these three different questions: fill in the blanks reading, fill in the blanks reading and writing, and read aloud, and then followed by highlight incorrect words and then reorder paragraph. Okay, so you have to spend most of your time. The reason why highlight incorrect words and reorder paragraph also is equally important is because say you miss out in your fill in the blanks, right? You get some difficult question and you actually miss it out. The only way you can cover it up is get your reorder paragraphs and highlight incorrect words correctly, right? So that way you can always compensate. So that is the best way you can actually get a score of 79 plus or 90, or even 65 plus for that matter, for students who are pursuing 65 plus. Okay, so read aloud, you can always go over my previous video. So in this video I'll be covering what is the best technique for fill in the blanks reorder paragraphs. Okay, mainly highlight and correct words is something similar, something easy. I'll cover it up in the last section of this video. Okay, so FIBs. So the most important thing that you need to know in your FIBs is grammar rules. Okay, so the grammar rules, I mean, as you know, English is like a wider topic and there are so many grammar rules out there. But in case if you want to do a quick recap of the different I mean different grammar rules which are out there, you can always follow Language Academy videos, because I don't want to reiterate the same. I just went over it once. I have a decent grammar rule foundation, so I just went over it once. I didn't go over this video again and again or try to mug up the grammar rules. But that is something that will help you to actually get the question right much faster. So as you know, reading is actually time bound, so you cannot spend a lot of time in each and every question. All you can spend is maximum of 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes in a FIB, or maximum 3 minutes for that matter. So if you have your grammar rules right, and if you have other strategies set, you would be able to solve the question in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Else it becomes really difficult and you tend to lack um, time in other questions. Okay, so first brush up your grammar. So you can watch Language Academy grammar rules. Okay, it will have probably 7 to 8 rules which you can brush up, which would cover things like having a singular, plural, um, conjunctions, articles. So past tense, participle things. So those are the things that you will actually learn from the grammar rules. But what I found from my exam is it was not more of grammar rule, it was more of context based questions, right? So when I say context, so you cannot just apply your grammar rules and get it right. So it was more about understanding the context of the question. So generally, if you closely observe, there are multiple options which are very close to each other, and the only way you can actually get it right is understand the context. So whenever you get a fill in the blanks, don't directly go into the blank. So I tend to see many students actually doing that mistake. Understand the whole passage as such, right? You can actually do it when you are into a time crunch by directly going into the blank. But whenever you get a fill in the blanks question, ensure that you read the full question, right, till your last blank at least. And I've seen few places where they give the answers even after your last blank, right? That could be a repeated word. So they actually trick you out. So you have to ensure that you understand the full passage, because the blanks that you get will be very close to your context, right? So understand the context. Don't directly go into the blanks and apply co-location rules or grammar rules. That is a wrong strategy if you ask me. First understand the context. That way it is much easier for you to actually solve the fill in the blanks. Okay, so grammar is point one. Point two is co-location. When I say co-location, two words always come together. Okay, so that is that's how English works, unfortunately. So you can never mug up the co-location list. Okay, PSN actually publishes a co-location list officially, but there are like thousands and thousands of co-location words which you can never mug up, and you are not expected to mug up as well, because you never know whether it will come from there or somewhere else, right? So the best thing that you can go do is, whenever you get a difficult word like a co-location word which you got it right during your practice, ensure you maintain a vocab list. Okay, this is very 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 important. You maintain a vocab list. Whenever you get any question wrong, understand why you got that question wrong. Was it because of your grammar, or was it because of a co-location which you were not aware, or was it because of the context? So these are the things which you need to retrospect whenever you actually get any question wrong during your practice, and then maintain a vocab list which you can refresh 2 to 3 days before your exam. Okay, so this is the best thing that you can do. And if you ask me where to practice, APUni is the best platform for prediction files. You can practice the weekly predictions and the the monthly predictions for that particular month. And you could get few questions or not, or you could not get few questions, so you never know. So that is something that you need to uh, practice. The only way you can get the co-location right or grammar right, or even get familiar with the context and answer those questions, is by practicing more and more. So I actually practice a lot during the 3 month section. So I know that I'm strong in listening, speaking, and since we had the templates, I was a bit uh, good with writing as well. But the only thing which I know that I have to spend a lot and lot of time is reading. When I say reading, fill in the blanks especially, and reorder paragraphs. So I spent a lot of time. So I would have practiced at least 70 plus before the exam, FIBs, and reading and writing FIBs. I would have practiced more than 170 or 180. Okay, so grammar, point one, collocation, point two, third is context, and fourth is elimination technique, right? So you would know that few words wouldn't match up, so be it a drop down or even a drag and drop. You know, there are fill in the blanks options that you actually know would not fit into it, right? So you actually eliminate it and look into other options. And one mistake which often students do is, especially in the drag and drop, say they get the first fill in the blanks and they get that drag and drop correct incorrectly, right? They pick a wrong word, but that might be the answer for your second fill in the blank. So never actually fix your answer and then move on to the rest of the options in your during your drag and drop. So whenever you're looking into each fill in the blanks, also just once cross check if it also can be covered using a fill in the blank that you have already answered, right? So that way, say you get it wrong in your first fill in the blank, maybe in the second fill in the blank it might strike you, so that word might better fit into this, so you actually swap it. Okay, so that is something that you have to definitely do. Many students don't do it, so if they get the first one wrong, then there is a high chance that they would also get the second one wrong just because they got the first one wrong. So always ensure that you read the question correctly, and once you do it, you always proofread, right? Quickly you proofread it and ensure that uh, you don't get it right in any of that. So, and the most important thing again is spending less than 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes in each and every question. So the time management technique that I followed in my exam was, I would get the remaining questions on the right side of the exam, right, on the right side top. So what I do is I multiply that into 2. Okay, so say I have 8 questions left, I multiply that into 2, which is 16. Then I check my time remaining and see if it is always nearby, right? So, for example, if I multiply that into 2, and if I have 16 minutes for my remaining questions, and if I am like in 13 minutes remaining, then that means I'm running 3 minutes short, right? So that's how you can actually track it. So I actually did this math for each and every question. Believe me, I actually did it for each and every question and ensure that I am on track, because you cannot keep looking into the clock because that would distract you. So as soon as you complete a question, multiply the remaining question into 2 and then check that with your time remaining section, right? So that way you get to know whether you are ahead or you are lagging behind. Okay, so that's the best way to manage time in your reading section. And MCQs, in case of a multiple choice, never choose more than one unless and until you are 200%. I agree, the question is there to select more than one option, but I selected only one in my real exam and I got a perfect score of 90. So, there will be always one option which is very simple, so you always select that, and if you're not 200% sure on the other option, don't select it. Okay, so there is two reasons behind it. One is selecting one option would be much more time efficient, because as soon as you read the passage you can quickly select, and don't spend more than 2 minutes max in your multiple choice questions, guys. That is going to ruin your exam. So spend less than 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes for that matter. I just quickly skimmed through the whole passage and just selected one option, be it multiple choice single answer or multiple choice multiple answer. I just quickly skimmed through the passage. I spend the time for MCQs in my FIBs and reorder paragraph. That way I can think more, right? So don't waste your times in MCQs. I see many students do that. Thereby they lack the time in your FIBs and reorder paragraphs. So spend least time in your MCQs. So FIBs have covered. Next comes reorder. So again, reorder is very important. Again, it is very tricky as well, uh, but it is very important, right? So you might get two to three questions in your real exam, and you should ensure that you get at least 50% correct, right? So that way, if you miss out in your read alouds or in your FIBs, you can always catch it up in your reorder paragraphs. And there is certain rules which are there which I have to follow, and it just comes by practice. As you practice more and more questions, again, practice it from AP Uni, because you might get a question one or two in your real exam as well. There is a probability, you never know. So practice the prediction files for that particular month for reorder paragraphs. And the basic strategy video that I followed is again Language Academy. I just watched Varun's video on how he actually comes up with different rules. So few of the things which I found it very important is chronological order. And I say chronological order, the years might come in sequence, right? 1900, 1950, 2000 kind of a thing. And identifying the independent sentence is the most important technique, right? So that would be an introduction section. So you have to identify a sentence that is not linked to any of the other sentences. And the easiest way to identify it is look for a proper introducing sentence, right? It shouldn't have any kind of a pronouns like they, them, so those kind of things, pronouns, or any kind of other words like so, because, um, or other conjunctions, because that would most likely not be an introductory sentence. So you once you identify the independent sentence which would be an introductory sentence, the following things would be just pairing the sentences, right? So you identify pairs um, in each one of those options, and then put them back into the actual one. And the general thing is, which usually comes it in reorder, is they explain the general characteristics first and then followed by specific details. So for example, they would explain uh, who I am and followed by what I do, right? Or probably what is communication and then how communication plays a major role, or probably talking about what is most important in globalization and just giving examples followed by it, how why it is important. So it will be always general to specific um, order. Okay. So matching the pairs is the once you identify the independent sentence, matching the pairs is something that you can quickly do so that you can score easily, because uh, they look for pairs whenever they do the scoring for reorder. So if you get each pair correctly, you're going to get one mark. So ensure you get the right pairs. So pairs as in two sentences, right? You can always club together, because uh, the object of the first sentence might be the subject of second sentence, so you can always match the pairs. And pronouns are like the indicators for you to actually identify the dependency between them, right? So for example, they say who. So when they say who, probably they would have mentioned the character as such before it, right? When you say them, they would have actually mentioned who they actually mean as them. It could be government or some group of people, they kind of a thing. So those are pronouns which will help you to actually identify the dependency. And don't spend more than 2.5 minutes in your reorder paragraphs, else that is going to ruin your time for other questions. Okay. And practice at least 15 to 30 from your prediction files before your exam, or every day, I mean, not overall. You should have at least practice 50 or 70 reorder before your exam, so that it is easier for you, okay, when you go into your exam. So these are the basic rules, so you can just skim over those rules. So whatever I mentioned now are actually documented here as rule 1 to rule 10. Okay, so you can just go over this reorder paragraph rules so that it helps you out. So we have seen read alouds, we have seen FIBs, reading and writing, we have seen FIBs reading, we have seen reorder paragraphs. So the last important thing is highlight incorrect words, which comes in your listening but constitutes to your reading section. So the strategy which I followed for highlight incorrect words is you shadow the speaker. Again, when I say shadow the speaker, you speak along with the speaker. So when you listen to it and the other side, you actually parallelly speak. So whenever you get a difference between what you speak and what you listen, that's when your mind strikes you, so you immediately highlight that word in that particular flow. Because if you read it out and if you listen, you might not actually get it correctly. So if you speak it out and then listen, the what you speak might be different from what you hear, so that way it is much easier. So this is the technique which I always tell to my students, and it always works, because I initially followed reading it, but I miss out one or two. But once I started doing the shadowing, then it actually worked out. So ensure you shadow. And the most important thing is highlight incorrect words also has negative marking. So if you think that you have you're unsure on this highlight, I mean incorrect word, then never highlight it. Okay, so that is not going to be a penalty for you. But whenever you are 100% sure on a particular word which is pronounced correctly or mentioned incorrectly, then you actually highlight that word quickly and move on to the next word in the paragraph. Okay, so thanks guys, all the best for reading session. So if you like the video, do comment and subscribe. And if you're interested in more videos or any given topics or clarifications, do drop it in the comment section. Thank you.